All right, everyone, welcome to yet another session by Cyber Transform, and it's great to have you here. And today we will start with celebration. As long as you are committed to your goals long enough, you will get a result. I mean, the only way to fail in the process is to give up. And many times, unfortunately, people fail because of that reason. Yes, for some people, maybe it takes a bit longer because of the background work needed, maybe because of other personal reasons, etc. But at the end of the day, if you stick to your goals long enough, regardless of your background, regardless of your situation, you will reach somewhere, right? So last week we've been discussing with one of our members, one of our friends, Liam, and it looks like he has some celebration. So welcome, Liam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello, everyone.
Perfect. Welcome. So yes, why don't we get started? Like, I really don't want to take a lot of time from you, and but I still want to kind of share the success and the celebration with the rest of the team, so that we can maybe extract certain points of your journey, and really looking forward to it. So maybe we can get started with your background, and then the steps you have taken and your current job situation.
I'll jump on camera so you're not alone.
All right, it's good to see you. I changed my microphone as well. I hope you hear me better now.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So in terms of background, I in the UK anyway, which is where I'm from, you can join the armed forces at 16.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I joined the armed forces and ended up becoming a communications engineer. So the full spectrum of communications, from computers to radios to everything in between. If it had a HDMI port or a power cable, it was our job to look at it.
All right.
It's the way they saw it, unfortunately.
All right.
So did that for 7 years now. Decided to leave for personal reasons. So then it's starting to look at, what am I going to do when I leave? So the main straightforward thing would be more infrastructure engineering, which is eventually what I've done anyway. But I looked into the cyber route with Peak, with the Peak program, because we deal with a lot of the security side of life, with cryptography and best practices and using RBAC controls and all those measures, the full spectrum of cyber. But doing courses like this, even if you know bits before, courses like this fill in the blanks. So every time you go through, even if you went through the course 3 times, because you've got more experience, you'll pick up on more things and you'll understand different things better. And if it's your first time doing cybersecurity and you're learning everything for the first time, they're like the basic building blocks. It's like building a wall. If you leave bricks out in the learning, you're going to come into dramas when you build the next layer. So the foundation of this learning will stand you in good stead, from little things like even things like least privilege, which is like a cybersecurity approach. If you just take that into your personal life as well, your personal security, then that's going to stand you in good stead as well. Yeah, so I in terms of leaving, I had a bit of time to study. I've done bits of Linux before, so I decided to do a Red Hat course. I did a Azure Foundations course, Fundamentals course, to prove that I could do the cloud computing side of things. So basically anything that I found interesting. When I first decided to leave, I thought, right, I need to do this certification. I need to do this to do that. And what I've found with applying for jobs and being interviewed for jobs, as long as you do something that is relevant, it doesn't matter. So obviously, if you're applying for a networking engineering job and you've just spent your time studying Windows domains, it's probably not as relevant. But if you're going for an infrastructure job, and you sit there and you do, I don't know, for example, network security, like network hardening, that's 100% relevant, and it will tie in with other aspects.
And your background as well, I see a lot of similarities, like your background in army, like the time that you have spent there, right? I mean, so why don't you tell us more about that? Like, for example, you have spent a lot of time, 7 years, and it's clear that you're interested. Like, you have studied different courses, different certificates, etc. And then how did you kind of mix them all together and then go for it? Like, how did you apply for the jobs that you have wanted, and then what happened then?
So the with the old job, they were good at giving you, again, the base building blocks for the base training. So you can't really work on a Windows domain if you don't know what a domain is. So like the base part of it, and then the rest of it, it was first, second line engineering thrown into the deep end. So supporting a LAN, a deployable LAN with domains on it. Once you're thrown into the deep end, you tend to find the first time that you come up against the fault, you start to work. It's almost like a fault finding mindset. So this hasn't worked. I've gone to my experience. I don't know how it works. Right, okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to speak to more experienced people. I'm going to have a look. If I've got an error code come up, if I Google that error code, what does it tell me? So it's pointing to this. Maybe I can look down this route. So the first time you do that, then the next time something like that happens, you have to think about it less, and you can go to the resolution quicker. So literally going in the deep end and just doing is probably the best way to learn. Physically doing it, and like I said, if I was doing something outside of work that wasn't day-to-day work, and I found something interesting, then I'll just sit and play about with that for a bit, and then it all stands you in good stead. It's all relevant.
Okay, that's great. It looks like that passion to learn something new each and every day, like Googling it, just for example, okay, what is this? Like, let me just take a look at this error code. Okay, I need to, it's clear that I need to learn more about this bit, that bit, whatever, to kind of build the blocks to get the outcome. Because as long as it's relevant, and it's a key component, what we have noticed, that consistency, that relevancy is really important, because at the end of the day, we are solving problems, certain specific problems for employers that they have. As long as it's kind of, there's integrity, there's, everything is congruent, then why not? Because at the end of the day, they have problems, and they're waiting for someone who's willing to help them, who's willing to support them. And when you show up accordingly, with the background, with the passion, then why not? And it turns out, like, just in your case, that you have found that opportunity in Amazon, right? Why don't you tell us more about that? How did that happen?
So I applied for an Amazon position probably about 4 months before I even got an interview. Completely forgot about it. Thought I hadn't made the first filter, which is quite a big thing, actually. So LinkedIn is your best friend for a lot of things. So if you start building a network on LinkedIn and start building almost like a presence on LinkedIn, start building your profile, then the networking will come after that, and you'll get the correct ties in. There's loads of people that are willing to help with cybersecurity in general as well. And then also the CV as well. So most CVs are scraped straight away. So before a recruiter even looks at them. So if the requirement is a bachelor degree, which most jobs aren't, but as an example, if the requirement's a bachelor degree and it can't find bachelor degree in your CV, you won't filter straight away. So go through the job listing, go through the job description, and if some things don't fit, then apply for it anyway until you get on, but try and match most things. So if they want somebody who's had experience with McAfee EPO, for example, and you've done bits with McAfee EPO, then put it in there. If you haven't, have a look at what McAfee EPO is, so then you can at least put it in there. And if they ask you a question on it, say, I've not worked on it in production environment, but I know it is this. And then you've at least shown an understanding.
I love that.
Yeah, so you've at least shown and again,
it's much better than, what is that? I've never heard about that kind of response.
And then luckily enough, I managed to filter through the first part, spoke to a recruiter, The first interview is like a technical interview and like a personality fit type thing. So it was fairly in depth. It was Linux engineer as the role. So I don't know what flavor of Linux it will be. I'll just know it's Linux. My preference is Red Hat because that's what I'm used to. So normally that's what happens in the Linux world as well. You prefer what you're used to. So there was Linux-based questions that if you don't know it, you don't know it. There's no way to like make up an answer. So luckily enough, I knew enough to get through there. And then the second interview was 5 hours long, an hour break, and then hour slots with 4 different people. 2 of them were technical. They'd spent, I think it was 26 years between them in the infrastructure engineering industry. And then the other 2, one was a hiring manager, and the other one was more of a like a personality fit. That's what they were looking for, which was a long day, 5-hour interview.
Was it live online or face to face? How did that?
It was over their version of Zoom. So it was a Zoom interview. They're still not doing with the pandemic. They're still not doing face to face interviews. I've only actually done a few interviews, and only one of them has been physical lately. So
everything's remote nowadays, anyway.
Yeah, nature of it. Yeah, that's right. And then I was lucky enough to filter through, and got offered the position.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations. I mean, from very beginning to end, it's clear that you have that passion and willingness to learn the things that you don't know, which is really important, isn't it, at the end of the day? Like, if you want to do something, you just need to show your commitment. And the best way to do it is obviously, like, there are many different elements to it. At the end of the day, networking is a big part of this. LinkedIn, meeting with people, adding new connections, so that they will understand that you're in the game, that you're part of the network. But at the same time, that technical skills, that understanding, at least at a minimum level, I've heard about that before. It's just like this. I don't have much production environment experience, but I'm willing to learn. Like, when the moment that they see it in your eyes, then why not? Like, kind of understanding. So yeah, I mean, are you excited? Like, when are you going to get started with Amazon? Have you already started yet?
Yeah, so I started today. So
Today?
It's mainly onboarding. It's mainly onboarding and then into training from there. So yeah, not too bad.
That's a full-time role, I guess.
Full-time,
permanent.
Yeah, permanent full-time. That's what I went for. I wanted that rather than contracting.
It's like, I mean, when you have an experience, when you have some sort of job experience in one of the big guys like Amazon, it's international. It's one of the, it's really hard to get in. First of all, congratulations. And when you have that experience and when you do a good job for a couple of years, then it's like sky's the limit. Then you can work for any company, Apple, Microsoft, Google. It really doesn't matter because Amazon. And now that you have proved this, now that you're part of this, as long as, and I'm sure that, you'll do a fantastic job over there, as long as you show up, do the work, continue to learn more, then it's, your entire career is ahead of you with lots of, opportunities, financial, lifestyle. So yeah, very exciting times. Like, so what would be the first thing that you would do when you receive the first paycheck?
Getting a dog. So getting a puppy. I obviously couldn't have one whilst I was in the forces. I was away too much.
I see.
When I was back, I was working quite long hours. So, but now that there's a bit more stability, I know what I'm going to be doing between set times. Puppy is the first priority.
Perfect. Perfect, Liam. I mean, it's so nice. It's so nice to hear about your success, and I'm really pleased with this. Any final maybe notes or things that you want to share with fellow professionals?
Just don't be afraid. Don't expect to know everything. I think, especially with cyber, so don't be afraid if you don't know something, because
sorry about that. There's some background noise.
That's right. But don't be afraid if you don't know something. There's a reason that 0 days are a thing. No, not everybody knows everything. 0 day, the vendor doesn't even know it exists and it's their product. So it's the way that you approach things when you don't know things. If you approach it the right way, then it doesn't matter if you don't know it, 'cause you'll know it for next time. And then, yeah, if that's all right. Just that's fine, thank you. Yeah, and then if I don't know if anybody has
So
any
I was
questions.
multitasking. Sorry.
That's fine. no worries.
Go ahead, Aslan.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
guys.
If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, it's like just type in the chat box, or if you'd like to, you can unmute yourself as well. We have a long day, so we will continue with the
I have
trainings,
a,
but yeah, Hassan, go ahead.
I have a question. So yeah, well done, Liam. Kudos to you, mate. So just want to know. I missed the part where you unfortunately had to pick up my coffee. It was getting cold. I was just wondering the job that you got. How did you find the actual interview process itself? Sorry, I missed that part. I'm not sure if you said anything.
That's right. So I said the interview process was quite long, and it was probably the most in depth. So as with Linux, if you don't know something, you don't know it. That it's really hard to, well, you can't make it up, and that it's fairly difficult to look for the answer, which is why Google's always your friend. Yeah, it was quite long. If the role, if I didn't think that I had the confidence to do a Linux engineering job, then I personally wouldn't have applied for the job anyway. But I knew I had a relative background in it. I knew that I could stand up to the interview questions. So it was a long interview, and it was, it was like 5 hours long. So
oh wow, okay.
that was the main issue for it, really.
Okay, so they actually ask you to write a new Linux kernel after 5 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
An interesting point I see about this is your background. Like you mentioned that HTML ports, like lots of hardware stuff, back in Army. But when I look at it, it's one of the closest things in the IT world, like Linux operating system and configurations, some security elements as well, obviously, by its nature comes with it. As long as you find that relevancy and transfer some of the skills that you have done in the past, like, all right, because it's way easier for people to understand as well. It's not like, okay, let me do something seemingly irrelevant. Obviously, there will be many more barriers. So I assume that was one of the things probably helped you and the hiring managers as well.
Massively, yeah.
Great stuff. Liam, thank you so much for taking the time. I really don't want to take much of your time. And today is like your first day. I think, I don't know, you will go out and then hang out with friends and just celebrate it, family. But congratulations. And we should most definitely stay in touch on LinkedIn, please, my friends. I guess Liam's okay as well, right? Adding and expanding his network on LinkedIn. And you can maybe let me know your LinkedIn URL, LinkedIn address, and then, I just expect to receive some connection requests because it's part of the game, isn't it? Now that you are there, it's time to help other professionals just like yourself. And many thanks for taking time today.
Cheers. Best of luck.
All right.
Thanks, Liam. Cheers, mate.
All right. Thank you, Liam. Bye-bye. Bye for now.
Bye.